Welcome to the verdict zone. Today's case is a raw examination of accountability, parental failure, and the immense burden placed on the one who escaped. We're calling this story the blame game. It's just about a young man caught between a phenomenal single mother and the dysfunctional legacy of a father whose choices have created a sprawling web of half-siblings and chaos. Imagine a man standing by a still pond. He drops a pebble, and a ripple forms. He drops another, and another, and another. Each pebble is a child, and each ripple struggles to stay afloat. But one ripple is different. A nurturing hand reaches in, stabilizing it, guiding it away from the others. Meanwhile, two older figures stand behind the man, continuously handing him more pebbles to drop. This is the heart of our story. Our subject is a 17-year-old young man. His life is one of stability, opportunity, and support, all provided solely by his mother. She made the difficult decision to leave his father when he was just an infant, after discovering devastating infidelity. His father, on the other hand, has since fathered at least 9 children by several different mothers. He is largely absent from their lives, offering little to no support, and harbors a deep resentment for our subject's mother and her success. Now, here is where the logic completely unravels. The father's parents, the subject's paternal grandparents, have constructed a bizarre and frankly, indefensible narrative. They blame the mother for their son's serial irresponsibility. They believe that because she left him, she is somehow the cause of his subsequent behavior. Even more astonishingly, they feel she is obligated to financially support the children he created with other women. They see her success not as a testament to her hard work, but as a resource that should be redistributed to clean up the mess their son continues to make. Let's break down this twisted logic of blame. The grandparents' claim is this: the mother's departure led to the father's destructive behavior, which in turn caused the suffering of his other children. It's a chain of events where the first link, the one they hold responsible, is the person who was betrayed. But our 17-year-old subject sees it differently, with a clarity that seems to escape his elders. His counterclaim is far more direct. The grandparents' own upbringing shaped the father's character, which led directly to his own choices and their devastating consequences. For the next 10 minutes, we will dissect this warped sense of accountability. We're going to analyze the grandparents' astounding perspective, which is a classic form of emotional manipulation. This tactic holds the wronged party responsible for the wrongdoer's subsequent actions, effectively absolving the actual perpetrator of all fault. We will champion the mother's position, which is clear and unwavering. Her duty is to her child, the one she raised, not to subsidize the consequences of her ex-partner's life choices. Her success is her own, earned through sacrifice and dedication in the face of betrayal. It is not a community fund for her ex's irresponsibility. And most importantly, we will evaluate our young subject's fiery and courageous retort, that the architects of his father's character, his grandparents, share the deepest and most foundational blame. He argues that they failed to instill in their son a basic sense of responsibility, integrity, and honor. To help us navigate this complex family dynamic, we've brought in experts. We'll hear from a family systems therapist who will explain the concept of scapegoating in dysfunctional families. Scapegoating is the act of singling out one person to blame for all the family's problems. It's a way to avoid looking at the real issues, which are often rooted in the core of the family unit itself. In this case, the successful mother becomes the perfect external target. It's just easier for the grandparents to point a finger at her than to confront the painful reality that they raised a man who lacks a moral compass. As the therapist explains, blaming an outsider allows the family to maintain a fragile illusion of internal stability. By casting the mother as the villain, the grandparents can avoid the difficult conversation about their son's repeated failures and their own potential role in creating them. It's a defense mechanism, but a deeply destructive one that perpetuates the cycle of dysfunction. The mother's success makes her an even more convenient target. Her stability and prosperity stand in stark contrast to the chaos her ex-husband creates, making her an object of both jealousy and blame. We'll also hear from a sociologist who explores the broader societal narratives that often absolve men of responsibility for their reproductive choices. For centuries, in many cultures, there has been a double standard. The burden of contraception, child-rearing, and the social consequences of having children outside of a stable relationship has disproportionately fallen on women. Our sociologist will discuss how this historical context informs the grandparents' thinking. They are operating from an outdated and patriarchal script where a man's actions are seen as excusable, while a woman who walks away, even from a toxic and unfaithful partner, is seen as abandoning her duty. This perspective ignores the father's agency. He is not a child. He is a grown man making conscious decisions to create life without providing the necessary support. To suggest that his ex-partner from nearly 2 decades ago holds any responsibility for these choices is not just illogical, it's morally bankrupt. The grandparents are essentially arguing that their son is incapable of self-control and that his ex-wife should have stayed to manage him, sacrificing her own well-being and that of her son. This brings us to our subject's powerful argument. At 17, he has a clearer grasp of accountability than his grandparents. He points the finger directly back at them. He's essentially asking, who taught him to be this way? Who failed to teach him that actions have consequences? Who raised a man who believes he can walk through life leaving a trail of destruction for others to clean up? His perspective is that his father's character wasn't formed in a vacuum. It was molded over years by his parents' values, their expectations, and their failures to hold him accountable. The father's resentment towards the mother's success is also a key piece of the puzzle. He doesn't see her as a model of what he could have been, he sees her as a constant reminder of what he is not. Her success invalidates his narrative of victimhood. If she could build a stable life after their separation, then his own failures cannot be blamed on her departure. This is why the grandparents' narrative is so crucial for him. It props up his ego and absolves him of guilt. The whole family system is conspiring to protect the ego of one irresponsible man, at the expense of a dozen innocent people, including multiple children and the woman he wronged. This entire conflict forces us to confront a foundational question. The moral judgment we must ponder today: when a person consistently makes destructive choices, at what point does accountability shift from those who wronged them in the past to those who raised them from the start? Where does the chain of blame truly begin? And perhaps more urgently, is it ever ethical to demand that a victim of betrayal also bear the financial and emotional burden of their betrayer's future mistakes? Should the responsible party be punished for their stability while the irresponsible one is endlessly excused? Untangling these complex webs of family blame is our specialty here at the Verdict Zone. If you believe in calling out twisted logic and defending clear, unapologetic accountability, then you need to join this court. We deliver verdicts that cut through the noise and place blame exactly where it truly belongs. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for the Verdict Zone. Demand clarity. Subscribe now.